Yeah, I should be allowed to give A pluses for
If
everything.
if you go to a bar and they give you 5-star restaurant food, that's A plus. If you go to a 5-star, yes, if you go to a 5-star restaurant and they give you Martian filet, they give you space burgers, that's an A plus. That's different than just an A. Hey everyone, welcome to A Grade, the podcast where a college professor and a middle school teacher taste, review, and grade America's best coffee roasters, craft breweries, and more. We have new episodes every Monday morning at 7 a.m., and you can check out our bonus content by becoming an A-grader yourself over on patreon.com/A-grade-podcast. We have a lot of great behind-the-scenes pictures, videos, full scorecard, report card sheet of every place we've ever been to and graded. So hop on over to patreon.com/A-grade-podcast, and like I said, become an A-grader yourself. There should be a link in the description. My name, of course, is Joe, and I'm joined, as always, of course, by...
Hi, everybody. I'm Jackie.
And I'm kind of hyped because I feel like we have a pretty interesting review this week. I say that every week, but I really mean it this time.
I'm really excited because, as usual, we have not talked about this brewery that we went to today, and it's been a little while. We went earlier this morning, and it is a little bit later at night right now. So I'm really excited to hear your thoughts. I've been waiting all day.
And that place was, of course, SquareHead Brewing Company.
Absolutely.
I think is the full name.
Good job. I'm really impressed.
I never remember the full names of these places. In Holbrook, New York, correct?
Absolutely correct.
And so just a very brief preamble, because basically if you've listened to our past probably couple episodes now, we've mentioned how in about a month we're going to be going to Italy for another month. So we're going to have multiple episodes in Italia. They're not going to be in Italian, but they will be.
We have not learned Italian that well.
See.
That would be a very short episode.
Molto not bene.
No.
That's how much I know Italian.
It'd be like, ciao.
Anyways, but we will be reviewing places in Italy for about a month. So we figured, hey, let's take this last month before we go away to check out some places not far from us here where we live in Long Island, New York. And one of the places, as we were just kind of looking around, actually where we live in Suffolk County, New York, apparently has a ton of breweries when you look into it. I think somebody at a brewery once told me, one of the head brewers said that Suffolk County has 50-something breweries if you add them all up. And that's quite a lot. So we have plenty more to explore here. And this one, SquareHead, I had never heard of. I was actually looking at some other places in that area, and SquareHead came up. And I said, the pictures look really cool. Never heard of it. Might be really fun to go investigate, see what's going on. And that's what we decided to do.
Yeah, and full disclosure, we had plans to maybe check out some other breweries afterwards, but we ended up staying at SquareHead for the majority of the afternoon, and I cannot wait to talk about it.
Yeah, so why don't you just remind everybody of the 4 grading rubric categories that we use, and we'll go right into it.
Definitely. So first we're going to talk about and grade atmosphere and ambiance. Then we'll talk about service. After that will be beer, and finally food.
And then...
Oh, yes. And then that's it. No.
It is getting late.
Yeah, it is getting a little late. So after that, we'll each come up with our overall score or grade for the brewery between A and F. And then from there, finally, we will come up with a podcast grade.
Yep. And so I guess the first category being atmosphere and ambiance. Do you want to start with that, or should I start?
Sure. I'll start with atmosphere and ambiance.
Yeah, go for it. So what was your first impression as we, I guess, approached the place? Because I had thoughts about that are probably similar.
Yeah. So I actually took a lot of notes when we were there, and most of my notes were about atmosphere and ambiance because I actually really loved it. When we pulled up to the place, it was interesting because it is down a neighborhood dead-end street where you almost feel like, how could I be going to a brewery right now? But when you actually get there, it's really cool because there's a nice big parking lot space. They have lawn games in the grass. They have tables outside in the parking lot. It seemed like plenty of parking for a lot of different people, but it was down a dead-end street. And it looked like a building that was very industrial building. Like, I think the place next door was selling marble for countertops, and
yeah, it almost
very industrial.
Yeah, it almost kind of looked like maybe it was an old auto mechanic place or something. that had been converted into a brewery. I have no idea if that's the case, but that was sort of the situational vibe I got. And I thought it was really cool for that reason, because like you say, I almost missed the turn because it just looked like a dead end neighborhood street. And I thought that was so cool that when we got to the end of it, there's this giant sort of circle, and then the brewery is right there. And like you said, they have the outdoor seating, they had cornhole set up and speakers there. So that was all really cool. It felt almost like a secret little niche, like a little kind of cozy, tucked away place in this random neighborhood not far from the highway. And there were trees everywhere. So it was kind of almost had this, kind of sounds cliche to say, I think, but it had almost a magical vibe to it. I almost felt as if I was transported to
we do look like that
secret beer Narnia and just the little woods in this little neighborhood or something. But that's sort of what stood out to me in terms of first impressions.
Yeah, and I hate to overuse this term, but it almost felt like a little hidden gem that we were being transported into this spot. And what added to that was when we pulled up, what we found out, owners of the brewery were outside, because in Long Island this weekend there's an air show and there's lots of different cool planes like the Blue Angels and different planes that are here this weekend, and they were outside actually looking up at the sky.
Yeah.
And when we pulled up, they ran in to meet us because we normally get to the breweries right when they open. So we had a really fun experience right away when we got in, talking to the owners, talking about the air show.
Yeah, I actually thought that they were there to greet us as the first customers of the day.
I thought that it was
because
like
I clearly
parking.
Have delusions of grandeur. Oh, they are here for A Grade Podcast. Welcome us to your beer destination.
Yes. And it was either I thought that, or I thought that they were going to start arranging parking. I was like, is this place this crowded that they have
that's a good
going
one.
Going to an amusement park, like I'm going to Disney, and they're like, okay, come over here, you go in this lane.
I could see that.
Yeah, but that was not it. We were looking for planes, and I quickly joined in on that. But
yeah. And then, in terms of everything else with the atmosphere and ambiance, I thought the inside was really cool. Again, it had that kind of like high vaulted ceiling, almost as if it had been an auto mechanic repair shop or something.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to know what that building was previously for those reasons. But yeah, lots of really nice touches. There was a lot of seating indoors and outdoors. I really liked that it was very kind of eclectic, the decor that they had. There was just random stuff. There was a giant, I think it was a deer head or something with antlers.
Right.
With Christmas lights wrapped around it.
Yeah, great.
And Swedish or Scandinavian flags.
Did you see the antique lights that were all around?
The antique lights were really cool.
Antique electronics everywhere.
Yeah.
That was such cool touches.
Yeah. I like how they had that little nook in the corner by the bathroom where you could hang out if you had more people and you were just chilling. Yeah, there were a lot of just really cool touches like that.
All the wood tables seemed to be from refurbished wood, pieces of different wood that were put together as with tables all around. There was all different arrangements of seating that it felt like a lot of people could be at this brewery and you still could be very comfortable.
Yeah, and you walk right in, the bars at sort of the end, right? And the layout all made sense. It was a strange layout, but I think they did a really great job with it, which was awesome, of course. What else? Anything else you noticed with atmosphere and ambiance?
The other things that I wrote down, I wrote a bunch of things down, were that they had a free arcade machine that had...
So...
do you want me to wait on that? No, go right into it.
I need to just briefly mention. So the arcade machine had... I was scrolling through because it was just this one machine with 1 million bumper stickers, I guess, on it, which was really cool. And I thought it was just an arcade machine. I figured most of the time you go to a brewery and there's an arcade machine, it's something, I don't know, maybe a single Pac-Man game, or it has a few Pac-Man game or something like that. As I'm going through the game list, well, I realized at first it's actually a console list. So they have Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, and then I get to Nintendo 64, and I thought, oh my God, they have Nintendo 64 on this arcade machine. And they had something, I think maybe 123 games, which was just wild to play that on an arcade with one of the sticks. So that was really cool. And they only had one machine, unfortunately, but I'm glad that we were there early, so we got to try it out. And it was just another cool little kind of quirky touch that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I found that there seemed to be a lot of thought and intention behind every little spot. There were games, like a big Connect Four board was there. They had a tray that was filled with all different card games if you were with a big group. They had coat and purse hooks, which to me is something that you don't see a lot, but you had somewhere to put if it was winter, your coat, and me, I could come in and put my purse down and hang it on a hook. These little touches. There were places to put your feet on the stools.
Love that.
Which
Love
makes
that.
you just really comfortable. I felt really comfortable overall to stay here for a really long time. And I feel like if I came back, I would probably notice different touches that I did not notice the first time we were there.
That's an amazing point because
Yeah.
as you say that out loud, I 100% agree. So, yeah, I felt very comfortable there. So much so that, like you said, we were planning on going to a second brewery and we just never made it. Because when we find a place that we feel really comfortable at, we usually decide, let's go with what's working because this is why we go. It's nice to knock out a bunch of breweries in a row, but if you're having a good time, have a good time. And there were cats just lounging around. I guess they were feral cats or something, but they were just hanging out under trucks and stuff, chilling. I felt like Hemingway or somebody. So yeah, overall, really cool space. I was
Didn't
very
it
comfortable
feel like
there.
a place that you could come with a group of people, you could come on a date, you can come and work? I feel like I could have brought my computer there and sat at the bar and worked.
Yeah, it would have been cool. Yeah.
It felt like a really comfortable home space. There was really good energy in there, really good vibes. I loved it. I thought it was great atmosphere and ambiance.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, that leads us to this week's rendition before we wrap up Atmosphere and Ambiance of course, cue the toilets. Bathroom corner.
Yes, absolutely. And for this one, I have been very diligent in taking videos of the bathrooms so that you can all see what the bathrooms look like.
On patreon.com/A Grade Podcast.
Thank you to our new Patreons. We'll give you a shout out later.
Yes, we will.
Yes.
And they are already seeing these
Yes.
awesome bathrooms, so join
You are
them.
seeing the videos of me giving peace signs in the mirror.
They may
at
be
the
watching them
bathroom.
right now. Yeah, so my thoughts on the bathroom, I know there were two. I only went into the one, but I was very satisfied with it. I thought it was a perfectly serviceable bathroom. It was nothing too crazy. I mean, we've been to places, as we often mention Po' Boy, because it's worth mentioning, because the only bathroom we've ever been to that has mouthwash and just really nice touches like that.
And I could have really used it, the mouthwash, because I ate a poppy seed bagel
Oh,
before
would you forget
we went,
about-
and I needed floss so bad that I was really hoping that they had some floss in
You
the back.
held us up in the parking lot, searching through your bag in the trunk, looking for panic floss. That's insane behavior.
And I did say that I wanted to stop at a CVS or get some from...
Spoiler alert,
See,
I
dad,
refused.
my father's very smart. My dad is very smart. He carries around floss wherever he goes. So you wouldn't need a bathroom filled with toiletries.
Well, in any event, your father was not there, unfortunately, nor were...
Listen, at least they had a
Flossing.
bathroom, unlike...
Well, yeah, let's not go back to last week's episode, though, with the bathroom situation.
Yeah.
But you were right. They did have a bathroom, I suppose, and that was quite good. And yeah, I mean, I thought it was overall very fine. They had paper towels. Everything was well stocked.
Mm-hmm.
I was very satisfied overall. Nothing really stood out to me. The faucet handle was kind of cool.
Yeah.
It was this, I don't know, brass lever or something. It was a little different from something I've seen before. So that was a nice little touch. But I mean, if I wanted anything more, I would say overall, maybe I would want a little bit more of the Scandinavian theme, which apparently was there. I wouldn't have picked up on that if we didn't talk to the owners, which we'll get into, of course, in a moment with service. So that's something that I would have maybe, yeah, like I said, liked a little bit more of. But overall, I was just so comfortable and very pleased. But did you have any other thoughts about the bathroom or anything else with atmosphere and ambiance?
I thought the bathroom was really clean. I liked that they had two bathrooms. One had way more unique paint on the wall. One almost looked like it was hand painted with graffiti or something like that,
Yeah.
where the other one was just plain yellow. But I really think you're right. And again, thinking about Po' Boy has the history and the story of why they're called Po' Boy Brewing in the bathroom. And I always think that those personal touches are great for a bathroom. Maybe some events that you have going on, some background about your brewery. I think those are good things to put in a bathroom. And that was actually my only small critique, was a little bit more about the history of the brewery, because
Yeah.
it is really interesting. The two people we talked to were father and son, and they were also talking about the grandfather as well.
Yeah.
So there seems like there's a family dynamic behind this brewery that I wish I want to know even more about. But overall, that didn't really impact my experience at all.
Yeah, I agree. So do you have an A and A grade?
Yes, I have a grade in mind.
Okay, what is it?
A minus.
A minus. That's exactly what I was thinking.
I loved it.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely. I think that's accurate because it's absolutely A grade level. And again, I think if it were busy and we hadn't gotten the interactions that we'll talk about in a moment with service, we would have missed out on all of that. I would have had no idea that there was any sort of Scandinavian theme or connection, which again, that's something that's really cool and it's really unique. I've never seen that before at any of the breweries we've went to. So yeah, maybe making that a little bit more clear, a little bit more apparent could be really cool. But overall, it was fantastic. It's an awesome place to hang out for the atmosphere and ambiance alone. And I think that pretty much sums it up.
Yeah, and I think also a big part of the atmosphere and ambiance in our experience today was the service. So let's get right into the next category.
Yeah, sure. So service, I felt as if this was one of the better service experiences we've maybe ever had. Dare I say that? Because we run the gamut of service experiences. We've had service experiences where we're like, can we justify not saying honestly that this is an F versus, well, we're really nitpicking if we say anything but A. It's kind of just as not accurate to say, oh, that's not an A. And this I thought was just so engaging from the start. They just were so friendly, but it's almost as if, I don't know, the more people I meet who work at these places, who own them, who are the brewers, or if we're at a coffee roaster, who are the roasters, you really know right away who's invested in what ways in terms of not just being passionate, but sharing that passion. And this was one of those experiences that really stood out to me right away. They were so friendly, they were so open, and so genuinely so. It wasn't anything contrived. They were just very nice people, and they wanted to share their story, like we said, and their sort of history and experience. I mean, we'll talk about this with food at the end, but the fact that we were talking about this pistachio Pilsner that they had, and he was telling us this awesome process of how they run over the pistachios in a truck to mash them up, just really cool stuff. And he actually, when we were sitting with our pistachio Pilsner, he somehow found an extra one because they were out of them, and he was nice enough to find one for us. And then he brings us a cup of pistachios to our table out front. And when we went to leave, we bought the rest of the 4-pack of the pistachio Pilsner. And he was trying to offer us, I can give you, because I told him that I put pistachios in the beer because I thought, why not? I feel like I'd be crazy not to. And he said, I can give you pistachios in a little thing to go so you have them because whatever. Just one thing after another. And it was something where we had to pull ourselves away to go drink our beers because we kept wanting to talk more to them, which is such a great sort of experience and connection to have. So overall, I thought the service experience was just fantastic. But I don't know if I'm missing anything or you have anything to add to that.
I don't think you're exaggerating when you say this is one of the best service experiences that we've ever had. And I couldn't agree more. I felt so welcomed, so comfortable, such valued as a customer. And
especially as new customers.
Yeah. I mean, we had conversation about everything from the air show to trips to Iceland to their history behind the brewery to how they use specific things in their yeast and their processing of the beer.
Yeah. And like you said, father-son duo right there.
Right there.
Yeah, that's so cool.
They just made it such a comfortable, welcome space that, again, it bleeds through into every other category. And I think that I would go back and we'd have even better conversations, and these would be people that we'd be friends with. Yeah.
We always say it's kind of tricky with service because if it's really slammed and you go there, it's hard to say, well, how am I judging service if there's no opportunity for interaction? And that's one of the reasons why we love to go to these places when they are quiet, because we've been to a lot of other breweries that are just as quiet as this. I mean, we were literally the first people there and the only people there for the first maybe half an hour or so because we got there right when they opened.
Yeah, we always do, so that we're trying to get kind of that consecutive, consistent experience.
Yeah, and we've been to other places in that situation where they're not interested in having any sort of connection with us. So it stands out for those reasons. So I don't have anything else to add if you want my grade.
You know what's funny? The only thing that I was thinking, I think at one point I looked at you when we were there and I was like, Joe, do they know we're here for the podcast? Because they're
you think I have delusions of grandeur.
I was like, but they're being so absurdly like kind, and you're like, no, they're just really cool people.
We're also not that popular.
And no, not at all. But I was like, maybe they saw like something on someone else's Instagram or whatever. I don't know.
That actually is quite possible.
You know, it's
at this
possible
point.
that we've done a couple of Long Island
I
breweries.
mean, there are
now.
breweries that have reached out to us and said, when are you coming in? And that's kind of scary.
And it's not like we've, blown up by any means, but we, maybe Po' Boy shared us or Uber Geek
that's true.
or in the brewing world. But I don't think that was it. There was nothing fake about this. This was a genuine, authentic, great A-grade experience.
I might have to start voice changing when I go into these places because I remember last time I went to Mongo's Coffee Roaster, which is one of our favorite coffee roasters, and we go to fairly regularly. And last time I went there, the owner, who I hadn't met before, I'd met his son a couple times, but he came over and he recognized my voice from the podcast. And I thought, good. Well, that was fine because we gave them an A. But in that case, I was like, that's fine. But I could see other cases where I might be like, hi, we love you.
Yes, that's when you have to do your Mickey Mouse voice or your serial killer voice.
We love you, A+. Yeah.
Or your human robot voice.
I'm not doing that.
But I know my grade. I mean, this is easy. I think you're going to have to edit in some fireworks, my friend.
Oh,
you know it's coming.
Fireworks.
You know it's coming.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to give an A for service.
I'm totally giving an A.
Thanks, guys.
Cue the fireworks.
Pew, 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 pew.
Yeah.
I'll add fireworks.
What's so funny is we were having some technical difficulties before we recorded today.
Yeah, hopefully it's recording.
Hopefully it's working. But we were like, should we just scrap it and not do the episode?
No.
And what made me really want to push through and do the episode was honestly to talk about this awesome service experience.
I agree 100%.
We don't get this a lot.
Yeah.
This is few and far between. It makes a brewery stand out. It was incredible. It's deserving the service of an A.
Yeah, fair enough. And that leads us, of course, to the all holy category of beer. So what do you think?
I feel like you have a lot more to say, so I'll let this be short.
Sure.
But there were flight options that were really fun. They had a lot of beers on tap with really great names, and they were organized by the letters of SquareHead Brewing. So one beer was an S, one was a Q, one was a U, and that was really fun. So we were able to really easily read which beer we were trying. They had a great array of different styles of beer. There were only 2 IPAs, which makes
I was
me
so impressed
really
by that.
excited when I see, because we always talk about this hop craze. And a lot of times you go to breweries and an entire flight or 2 are filled with IPAs. There were only 2 IPAs on top. They were on tap. They were both really enjoyable. I liked them both.
Yeah, they were good.
But they had all different other styles of beers. Mm-hmm. And you can talk a little bit maybe more about that. But I found about 3 that I loved. I loved the IPA. There was a mango, right?
Yeah, it was a mango pale ale.
Yeah, that I loved. And I loved their Pistachio Pilsner. So I found 3 beers that I really, really liked. And I enjoyed all of them. The coffee stout was really good.
Yeah, that was a good one too.
Yeah, there was great selection. So take it away.
No, I mean, that's really kind of how I feel too, especially when you get into some of the stranger ones they had. They had what was it, the Doppelbock, which was just wild. It was just a journey. And I told him, I said, what did you do to this beer? Because it's not just one flavor, it's a flavor profile. So it's all sorts of kind of notes as you're tasting it, and then on the finish of the taste and the aftertaste. Really unique. One of the more unique beers I think I maybe ever had. It's definitely up there in beers that stand out to me.
It ended smoky. It started, yeah.
So cool. I mean, again,
he said chestnuts.
Yeah. Some of the beers I thought were pretty good. There weren't any that I didn't like. I thought they were all pretty good, and some of them were outstanding. And I kind of liked most of the ones that you did, maybe just in varying levels. Like I liked the other IPA more than you did. You enjoyed the IPA you enjoyed, but I thought they were both really good IPAs. And again, I really appreciated that it's not just all IPAs, which we see at so many breweries. Not that that's a bad thing. I mean, you go to Other Half Brewing and they are pretty much only IPAs and they're fantastic. You go to Hudson Valley Brewing and it's only sours and they're all fantastic. So places can do that, but when places just decide as well, everyone else is doing it, I'm just going to do that, and they don't do it to that same level, that same caliber, well, it kind of can fall short and fall flat very quickly. So I really like that they had a sort of very genuine assortment of options, and some of them were fantastic. So I think I know my letter grade, unless you have other thoughts on some of the individual beers.
There's just a couple things I want to reiterate. What you said earlier, that their Pistachio Pilsner was so cool. And then to hear the story behind it, like you said, where they actually run it over with the truck to
it was
get
so
it
cool.
so that it's actually thin enough that they can brew with the pistachios. I thought that was amazing and really thoughtful and really unique. There were some really cool stories that they told us about things that they learned from the brewer's grandfather, and that he used to brew beers. So you can tell that this is a family business. It's a family-run business, that they really care about the beers that they're making. And they're making, I thought, really high-quality product.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm going to go overall for beer A-, because there's so much attention and effort put into it. And it's almost as if there were some that I absolutely loved, and then others where I was like, yeah, it's pretty good, but I wanted them all to be ones that I absolutely loved, which is a great place to be, I feel, at a brewery. And I kind of am really excited to go back and try some of the other ones. So I think it's definitely an A-range beer spot. But what do you think? I
went a really, really, really happy B+. I thought the beers were great.
Yeah, it was really, really good experience.
I think maybe the reason I went B+ instead of A- was I felt that a lot of their beers were very high alcohol content, like 8%, 9%. But that's just a preference. It's just the style. It's just a preference. I found 3 that I walked away with and really liked, and I can't wait to try more.
Yeah, really good stuff. And that leads us, of course, to food, which, did I start? Did you start? I start.
You start.
So there was none.
No. Well, except the pistachios that we got.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't even think to ask if they had chips or anything of that sort. They did have pistachios, which he gave us, which was super cool.
Yeah.
He did also mention, I did ask if they do events and or have food trucks, and he did say that they have food trucks at various times. That's something that I would have liked maybe to have listed on their website. Maybe it is. I couldn't find it. I'm pretty computer inept when it comes to navigating people's websites and looking for stuff. I mean, we almost went to a coffee roaster today that was closed. That's how bad I am at this. But I do try to check, and I couldn't find that anywhere. So I would have liked to have seen that somewhere, like maybe a list, so I sort of know, because I think it would be nice to go there and be able to get something to eat too. But it was still really cool that they accommodated us with the pistachios. So I don't really know if there's much else to say. I mean, he did mention that some of the food trucks that they do have come, I think he said there's an empanada truck, or it's a truck that they'll do burgers and stuff, but they focus on empanadas. He mentioned one other that they sometimes have. So I don't know how regular or frequent the food trucks are. So it might be like a hit and miss situation. There wasn't one when we were there. I don't know if there was one coming in the later that day. I forgot to ask, but yeah, it's really everything that I can think of with food. So I'm kind of at a loss for a food grade here, because it's almost as if we didn't get to try it, but it's not as if they don't have any, but they kind of do because they gave us some. But I don't know. What are you thinking? How do you feel about all of this?
Yeah, this is really hard to grade for me, because it almost reminds me a little bit of Uber Geek, where there's not really food, but we still love the brewery. And
yeah,
you
that's
just
a good point.
go and you know that you're not going here for a meal. You eat beforehand or you eat after. It was not really clear. Normally I can find food truck schedules and stuff, even on social media. It was not super clear what the food truck schedule was. That would definitely improve the experience. But my gut was thinking to put a C here, only because I felt like even though they didn't have food, it didn't impact my experience that much, even though I would have liked it.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead, and we've said that we can do this. I haven't actually exercised this option in quite some time, but I'm going to not count.
Rewind.
I'm not going to give a food category grade. Having said that, I am going to factor it into my overall grade assessment, and that includes the fact that they gave us pistachios.
Right.
That they hand delivered us
Which
pistachios.
is probably why I'm in the C range.
Well, that's probably why I'm not grading, because it's not as if all of this isn't being factored in my overall assessment, but it's not something that I feel as if it's necessary from my perspective to do. But you're more than welcome to give whatever letter grade you want. I think it makes sense.
I do think for our listeners that if you are planning to go to this brewery, and obviously we clearly think you should, make sure you eat before. So that you can spend time.
Or you could call ahead and ask if there's a food truck that day.
Right,
That's always an option too. So
just be prepared for that.
Are you going to give a C?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to give a dash.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Again, that doesn't mean that I'm not factoring that all. Like I said, it just means that from my point of view, I don't feel
food
like
is
it's
always
necessary.
the category that you go rogue on. Like when you gave an A+ to Monk's Cafe.
Yeah.
I'm still outraged you did that. I feel like you broke the rubric.
I'm outraged that you're outraged.
Yeah, I should be allowed to give A+ for everything.
If you go to a bar and they give you 5-star restaurant food, that's A+. If you go to a 5-star, yes, if you go to a 5-star restaurant and they give you Martian filet, they give you space burgers, that's an A+. That's different than just an A.
Okay, you're a teacher. You grade.
I'm a professor. Get it right. A-.
A-. You grade papers all day long.
Yes.
The best paper you've ever read in your life. You get it handed in by a genius. It's like, who's a genius? I know.
None of this is accurate
I don't know.
to reality, but
you,
go ahead.
You get it handed in by a genius. Yeah. Okay.
Possibly a genius.
It's
a genius. Yes.
A genie hands it to you, and it's
perfect. Genie hands me the ultimate paper.
The ultimate paper.
All
okay.
right, continue.
That's what I really meant by genius.
Sure.
And can you break the school rubric and give it A+? No.
Yeah, sure I can.
Oh God.
I can give it to the. I mean, I can't put it into the system, but I could still write it.
Okay. I stand by my point that an A+ broke our food system.
Hey, all I'm saying is I'm giving credit where credit's deserved. I might give an A++ one of these days.
If you do, my mind's gonna be blown.
I don't know if I ever said this on the podcast, but the highest grade I ever got on a paper in college was an A+++. And I don't know how or why, but I just remember saying,
"You're the genius."
This is why I'm allowed to give A+. I have the cred. Yes. I've done it. I've lived it. I've accomplished that tier of excellence. Don't you understand? Of course not.
Moving on.
You're only A grade. Yeah. How would you know?
Listen, we have rules that we must live by here.
I'm making new rules.
You're very much a questioner. It's fine.
Anyways, are we tallying?
Yeah, I think we're
final
ready.
Letter grades? Okay,
After that nonsense, we're ready to tally.
Yeah, genius, but go on.
Genius. I'm sticking to it.
Genius. Okay. What's our grades?
All right, fine. Atmosphere and ambiance, we both gave A-. Service, we both gave A. Beer, you gave an A-. I gave a B+. Food, you X'd out, and I gave a C. I know my overall grade.
Yeah.
I have a feeling we're going to have the same overall grade, or we're going to be 1/2 letter off.
I feel as if we're going to be 1/2 letter off.
Me too. I know what you're going to give, and I know what I'm giving.
It's because you're wrong and I'm right, but go on.
Okay, let's see.
3, 2, 1.
Why don't we ask our listeners?
They're allowed to comment. 3, 2, 1.
Ready.
3, 2, 1. A+++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++++
gonna give it?
A minus.
I knew you were gonna say A minus. I went with B plus.
I knew you were going to go with B plus.
I think the only reason I went with B plus, not A minus, was food.
I think I went with A minus because the parts that stand out to me are outstanding. And I'm actually going to advocate for the overall podcast grade. It's so funny how at the end of every episode when we have different grades, sometimes you want to advocate for your grade and I feel very strongly about my grade. I feel very strongly about rounding up for the overall podcast grade because you always say that I say that I value the beer the most or the coffee the most if it's a coffee roaster that we were at. You always say that it's the service and the atmosphere and ambiance, which was both A grade or A
Yes.
tier, A caliber. So I'm going to advocate that we round up to A minus because, again, I think with those considerations in mind of what maybe a little bit more we would want in our ideal brewery, the stuff that stood out to us, I mean, how can we say that it was one of, if not the best service experience we've ever had? and give anything less than an A-. I feel as if that doesn't really make sense. So I'm going to advocate for an A- because I'm a genius. And if you want to argue against me, I'm here to hear your argument.
I think this place is very deserving of an A-.
So you're saying I'm right.
I agree with you. Yes, I agree with you.
Yes.
I think that SquareHead Brewing Company, an accurate grade is an A-. We had a great day. So great that we decided not even to go to any other breweries.
Yeah.
We stayed there.
It was awesome.
I can't wait to go back. I can't wait to bring friends here. I can't wait to go play some lawn games here and try out some of their other beers, their other seasonal things that they're trying.
Yeah, really cool place. If you're anywhere in the area, and even if you're not, if you live in New York City and you want to do a day trip out to the island, I would highly recommend it. It's such a unique little space, and I think they've done a lot with it, and you see the passion, like we said. So that's an A- overall from A Grade Podcast for SquareHead Brewing Company in Holbrook, New York.
Yes, you heard it here first, guys.
You heard it here. So check them out, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. I really get excited when we find a place like SquareHead Brewing, a place that we haven't quite heard of. They've been open for 3 years, so that's not that long. And I really think this is what we love about the podcast, is being able to give good shout outs to small local businesses that are filled with passion and are doing some really unique, groundbreaking things. So thank you to SquareHead Brewing.
Yeah, thank you with your square heads, which apparently I forgot to mention is a Scandinavian thing.
Yeah, I think it's a slang term. Yes.
Yeah. I don't know what it means, but whatever. It's cool.
Yeah, that's the extent of what we know about that. But the other thing that we should say is I really do want to take a second to give a shout out to some of our new Patreons. It is so rewarding, and one of my favorite things about doing the podcast is hearing from listeners and people that have found the podcast and are really enjoying it. So we might just want to give a shout out to that.
We wanted to actually give a shout out to a couple of patrons and a couple of new ones. So first of all is the wonderful people at Po' Boy Brewing who support us. So thank you everybody over at Po' Boy. They're also A-level, amazing place, worth checking out. And we had a new Patreon just the other day, I think yesterday, Bill from San Francisco. Awesome guy. He messaged us on Patreon. He said he found the podcast actually through our Fundati episode, which if you go back, we talk about Fundati all the time. It's a roaster in Rhode Island because it's one of the best roasters we've been to in the country. Awesome place. And he loved our review so much and our other reviews as he was listening that he signed up on Patreon too, so he can view our bathroom pictures and photos and all of our other awesome content. And
he also sent us some really great recommendations for coffee roasters on the West Coast, and we have added them to our list. It seems like he is into the same type of experience that we're into, and I'm sure that he found some really great A-grade places that we will try out in our travels.
Yeah, that's, again, as you were saying, one of the coolest parts of doing the podcast is meeting these people who love what we're doing, because we're really trying to show these awesome places as we discover them. So we really love it too when we hear from them places that they've found. And his list he sent me, which looked awesome. I haven't heard of most of them. I've heard of some of them, but others I'm like, all right, it's going on the list.
Yeah.
We're adding to the list.
Definitely.
So thank you again, Bill from San Francisco. So glad that you join us as an A-grader. And again, if you want to join as an A-grader yourself, patreon.com/A-grade podcast helps support the podcast. Like I told Bill, we put the money right back into going to these places and supporting these small and local businesses. So there should be a link in the description as well.
Yes, and thank you guys for coming along. We have some really fun content coming up over the next couple of months, including we will be podcasting from Italy when we go in July.
Molto bene.
Yes, and until then, we'll be doing some Long Island coffee roasters and probably a lot of Long Island breweries in the meantime.
Well, we only have a few episodes left before we go to Italy, so maybe 3-4 more episodes before we start releasing La Italia episodes.
Perfect.
So they're coming.
Yes.
Perfetto.
I can't wait.
Yeah. So anyways, thanks again. We appreciate it. We're glad that you're here, and we hope that you join us next week. If you enjoyed this rambling nonsense, if you think that you're a genius like me, well, you're in good company then. So hope to see you next week. And I guess until then, stay safe, be well, drink well.
Arrivederci.
Arrivederci.
Bye.
Bye-bye.